Welcome back to the Hoop Truth YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down a story that isn't just about sports, but it's about a cultural rescue mission. I'm going to be diving into the most important electric and psychologically intense player rivalry to ever exist. Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. If you look at the NBA today, a global empire worth billions of dollars where superstars are international icons and games are broadcast to every corner of the earth. It's easy to assume it was always this way. But you need to understand something clearly. In the late 1970s, the NBA was completely, systematically dying. The league was on life support. Television ratings were so catastrophically low that CBS routinely broadcast the NBA Finals on tape delay at 11:30 at night, pushed behind late-night talk shows and reruns. Arenas were routinely half-empty, franchises were on the verge of bankruptcy, drug scandals plagued the league's public image, and the mainstream media openly dismissed the NBA as too black and too violent for corporate America. The product was broken, the culture was fractured, and the league was running out of time. And then, out of the college ranks arrived two men who didn't just change the game, they literally resurrected it from the ashes. One of them was a flashy, charismatic 6'9" black point guard from Lansing, Michigan, who played with a joy and infectious smile that completely electrified the city of LA. The other was a stoic, hyper-focused, trash-talking white forward from French Lick, Indiana, who brought a cold, blue-collar execution back to the city of Boston. They were polar opposites in race, geography, style, and personality, yet they were absolute mirror images in their basketball genius, their passing vision, and their pathological obsession with winning. For the next 10 years, Magic and Bird didn't just play against each other, they locked the entire sports world in a vice grip. They transformed the entire NBA into a premier television spectacle, injected soul back into the game, and laid the exact foundation for everything we love about the sport today. These videos take hours and hours to produce, so please drop a like on the video right now and make sure to hit that subscribe button with notifications turned on because I do post daily. Now let's go deep into the tape to break down the exact anatomy of the greatest player rivalry of all time and the rivalry that saved basketball. To understand why this rivalry took such an iron grip on the American psyche, you have to realize that it didn't just start in the NBA. It was born in the most watched college basketball game in human history. March 26, 1979, in Salt Lake City, Utah, was the NCAA National Championship game. On one side, you had the Michigan State Spartans, led by Magic Johnson, and they represented the big school establishment, a high-octane program playing an electric, modern brand of basketball. On the other side, you had the Indiana State Sycamores, led by Larry Bird. Indiana State was a tiny, unheralded school that Bird had single-handedly carried to an undefeated, miraculous 33-0 record. It was the ultimate David versus Goliath story. The media coverage leading up to this game was unprecedented. It wasn't just a sports match, it was a national event. When the ball went up, a record-shattering 35.1 million people tuned in to watch. To this day, it remains the highest-rated basketball game in television history at any level. Magic's Michigan State Spartans won the game 75-64, but the final score didn't really matter. What mattered was that America had just witnessed a glimpse of the future of basketball. The primary reason this game captured the country was the sheer contrast of the two protagonists. The media immediately painted them into the boxes. Magic was the urban, expressive entertainer. Bird was the quiet, rural hick from French Lick. It tapped directly into the racial, social, and economic divides of late 1970s America. But if you look past the surface-level media narratives, the true basketball purists saw something completely different. They saw two players who were fundamentally redefining their positions. Before Magic Johnson, A 6'9" player was strictly an interior big man whose job was to rebound and post up. Magic shattered that mold, running the point with the ball handling and vision of a 6-foot guard. And before Larry Bird, a forward was either a post-up enforcer or a mid-range slasher. Bird turned the position into a masterclass of spatial awareness, combining elite perimeter shooting with high post passing that looked like performance art. They were drafted to the two most legendary historic franchises in NBA history, Magic Johnson to the Lakers and Bird to the Celtics. The stage was set. The dying NBA was about to receive a massive jolt of lightning. When Magic and Bird entered the league in the 1979 and 1980 season, they immediately transformed their respective franchises into championship contenders. And in doing so, they created two completely distinct basketball subcultures that came to define the entire decade. Let's look at Los Angeles. Dr. Jerry Buss bought the Lakers in 1979 with a specific vision. He wanted sports to be entertainment. He brought in the Lakers girls, a live house band, and put Hollywood celebrities courtside. Magic Johnson was the perfect conductor for the symphony. Under his leadership, the Lakers birthed Showtime. It was a basketball style rooted in speed, creativity, and absolute aesthetic beauty. A Laker fast break was a work of art. Magic would grab the ball, run down the center of the floor, and fire no-look, overhead, or bounce passes to Jamal Wilkes, James Worthy, or Byron Scott, which would culminate in high-flying dunks. It was flashy, it was glamorous, and it perfectly mirrored the Hollywood environment surrounding it. Now, let's fly 3,000 miles east to Boston. The Boston Celtics played in the old Boston Garden, a gritty, un-air-conditioned arena with dead spots in the parquet floor and a crowd that valued hard work above all else. Larry Bird was the living embodiment of that city. The Celtics didn't win with flash, they won with a cold, calculated physical brutality. Bird anchored an offense based on precise cutting, brutal screening, and relentless ball movement. Bird wasn't the fastest player on the floor and he couldn't jump that high, but he outthought you on every single possession. He was a master of anticipation, routinely diving onto the hardwood floor for loose balls, delivering impossible touch passes, and breaking his opponent's spirits with a lethal mid-range and three-point game. And let's talk about the trash talk. While Magic killed you with a smile, Bird killed you with pure psychological venom. He would literally walk up to the opposing team's bench, tell them exactly where he was going to catch the ball, how he was going to shoot it in their face, and then go out and still do it. This stylistic warfare split the NBA fan base perfectly down the middle. You were either a Lakers fan or a Celtics fan. You loved the flash of Showtime or you respected the grit of the Garden. There was absolutely no middle ground. Every single regular season game between these two teams felt like a heavyweight title fight, and the entire league reaped the financial and cultural rewards. Now everybody loved the NBA, but all Lakers fans hated the Celtics, and all Celtics fans hated the Lakers. To understand why this is the greatest individual rivalry in history, you have to look past the team's success and look directly into the psychology of the two men. They possessed a mutual, borderline pathological obsession with one another. Throughout the 1980s, the NBA regular season was essentially an 82-game preamble. Both Magic and Bird have openly admitted that they didn't care about the other 21 teams in the league. They only checked the box score of one team every morning. Larry Bird would wake up in Boston, he would grab the morning paper, and he would immediately look to see what Magic Johnson did the night before. If Magic had 20 points and 15 assists, Bird would go to the gym, motivated to drop 35 and 18. Magic did the exact same thing in LA. If the Celtics won, Magic felt an immediate physical pressure to keep pace. They used each other as a human yardstick. Every workout, every practice, every standard mid-season game against an expansion team was fueled by the spectral presence of the other man across the country. Their rivalry was so big that they ended up making each other better. Throughout the 1980s, Larry Bird appeared in the NBA Finals 5 times, winning 3 times. And he also had 3 regular season MVPs, which he three-peated, and he is only the 3rd player to ever do so. Magic Johnson in the 1980s had 5 championships and 8 finals appearances with 3 MVPs as well. So throughout the 1980 decade, Magic and Bird appeared in the finals 8 out of 10 times combined, and they had 13 total appearances, and 9 of them were head-to-head in the NBA Finals, and they combined for 6 MVPs in that decade. They absolutely ruled the 1980s. Just look at the total dominance. Throughout the 10 years of the 1980s, the Los Angeles Lakers or the Boston Celtics appeared in every single NBA Finals. They faced each other directly in the finals 3 times, which was 1984, 1985, and 1987. They locked the entire sport into a duopoly. But notice the underlying beauty of the setup. Because they were both completely unselfish passing players, they elevated the play of everyone around them. Magic made Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's late career legendary, and he turned role players into stars. Bird turned Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish into an all-time great frontline. They proved that true individual greatness was measured exclusively by how much better you made your team. It was a masterclass in basketball purity that completely hooked the global audience. If this rivalry saved the NBA, the 1984 NBA Finals was the absolute apex of the rescue mission. This was the first time Magic and Bird met in the championship round as professionals, and it remains the most dramatic, physically violent, and culturally impactful series ever played. The Lakers completely dominated the early stretch of the series. They won Game 1 in Boston and were absolutely blowing the Celtics out in Game 2. It looked like Showtime was going to completely run the gritty Celtics off their own floor. But then, the psychological warfare took over. After a blowout loss in Game 3 in LA, Larry Bird walked into the media room and publicly called his teammates sissies. He challenged their manhood on national television. The response in Game 4 was an explosion of old-school basketball violence. Lakers forward Kurt Rambis drove the lane for a layup, and Kevin McHale literally clotheslined him, slamming him into the hardwood floor, and a massive brawl nearly broke out. Later in the game, Larry Bird got dead into Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's face, and the message was sent: "We are not going to outskill you. We are going to physically break you." The series went to a deciding Game 7 in Boston, and the temperature inside Boston Garden hit a stifling 97 degrees Fahrenheit because, as I mentioned earlier, the arena had no air conditioning. The Celtics clung to a narrow lead down the stretch. In the final seconds, Magic Johnson, under intense defensive pressure from Dennis Johnson and the Celtics perimeter, turned the ball over. Boston won the game, and the fans rushed the floor in absolute chaos. Bird won the Finals MVP, but more importantly, this series completely cemented the NBA as a premier entertainment product. The ratings were astronomical. The league had officially transitioned from a niche, tape-delayed product into the most compelling human drama on television. They met again in 1985, where Magic and Kareem exacted revenge by becoming the first visiting team to ever win a championship on Boston's floor. They met once again in 1987, where Magic hit the famous baby skyhook to break the Celtics' hearts. It was a Shakespearean tragedy played out on hardwood, and the entire world was watching. By the time the late 1980s rolled around, the NBA was completely transformed. The success of the Magic-Bird rivalry allowed the league to secure massive, multi-million-dollar television contracts with major networks. It paved the way for the global marketing explosion of Michael Jordan, the international dominance of the Dream Team in 1992, and the modern multi-billion-dollar empire that we see today. When you look at the modern NBA, where star-driven narratives and intense player rivalries dictate the entire media ecosystem, you are looking at a house that Magic and Bird built. They took a leap that was bankrupt, drug-riddled, and dismissed by corporate America, and they made it cool. They made it artistic, and they made it essential. The ultimate twist of the story is that through all the blood, through all the trash talk, and through all the fierce competition, they became brothers. When Magic Johnson shockingly announced his HIV diagnosis in 1991, one of the very first phone calls he received was from his rival, Larry Bird, who was breaking down in tears. They realized that their individual legacies were completely intertwined. You could not tell the story of one without the other. They may be heated rivals and enemies on the court, but off the court, they are very close friends and they are essentially brothers. They are the twin saviors of professional basketball. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Where does the Magic-Bird rivalry rank in your eyes across all of sports history? If you had to pick one man to anchor your franchise in their absolute prime, are you taking the passing wizardry of Magic Johnson, or are you taking the cold-blooded clutch execution of Larry Bird? Drop your thoughts, your hot takes, and your personal opinions in my comments section below. Please do me a massive favor. Once again, please hit the like button if you enjoyed this historical breakdown. And please make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on because, as I mentioned before, these videos do take a very long time to produce and I do be posting daily, so I don't want you guys to be missing any of my videos. I appreciate every single one of you guys.